Hey guys, Jeremiah with Steps Pressure Washing and More. Today we're going to talk about something truly terrific, and that's my pun, and that is my pun about tariffs today. But seriously, we've got a lot going on in the world right now, a lot going on in the economy, and as small business owners, we would be foolish to completely ignore it, or foolish to disregard the effect that it's going to have on our business, our clients, and our total bottom line moving forward. So just a couple days ago, I received a comment on one of my videos asking if I'm worried about the current economic conditions and whether it would affect us getting new jobs. And my initial reaction to that was I'm always worried about what's going to happen in the short term, long term, on everything political that is always going on. There's always a reason to worry about the economy because things are constantly changing. And, if you've been around long enough, you've seen changes that affect you and your business. And so it's one of those things where I'm not going to close up shop just because tariffs are happening. Tariffs could go away next week, and this won't even be an issue. We don't know what's going to happen. But for right now, let's have a little bit of a conversation on what tariffs mean for a small business like mine. All right, so let's get into some of the numbers. So if you aren't already, I highly recommend you start tracking your numbers so that you are able to know what your business is spending, what's coming in, what's going out, what all of your averages are. And if you don't know what your averages are, I would really, really recommend for you to sit down for a couple hours, really figure out what you're spending on every job you're doing. And if you haven't seen it already, here's a link for a video I made on how to set your pressure washing prices, or how to set your prices as a small pressure washer. And it gives you the formula, and we're going to talk a little bit about that formula today on restructuring my prices or profitability or whatever it might be. So right up here, we're going to show what I gave in that video is a breakdown of a 2,000 square foot home that we are charging 10 cents per square foot in order to wash this. And the reason why I did a 2,000 square foot home for 10 cents is for easy math. And you got to find your own numbers. You have to find what works for you and what works for your own profitability. This is not me saying charge 10 cents a square foot. This is just me giving an example for 10 cents a square foot pricing on a 2,000 square foot home where we are spending $100 supplies, equipment, and all expenses to operate our business. That's including the truck payment, that's including insurance, that's including, the sodium hypochlorite, replacement hoses, replacement reels, and saving for new equipment as well so we can continue to grow our business. Then we have $50 in labor. That is an easy math. That is $25 an hour. Average job takes 2 hours, $50 per job. And then, of course, $50 in profit so that we have something to show for all of our hard work every day. The reason why we build the payroll into our pricing is so that if we aren't able to do the job and say I have an employee that can just step in for me, then his wages they're also built into our pricing so that we're not trapped in never being able to get off the truck. Okay, so here we go. 10 cents a square foot on a 2,000 square foot house. So just because, say, you're tracking your expenses and your equipment goes up 30%, and you see this pretty consistently, and you see this is happening across the board, and okay, well, I have a 30% increase in my expenses on equipment. The urge to raise your prices 30% to match what your distributors are charging extra needs to be fought. You can't raise 30% just because your supplies went up 30%. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to kind of go into this a little bit of, if your supplies go up 30%, well, how much of your actual budget are your supplies? And if your supplies are $50 of the $100 in expenses per client, then you're not actually going to need to raise your price 30%. So if you were to raise your price 30%, you would charge 13 cents per square foot, 13 cents per square foot of home. On a 2,000 square foot home, which we're talking about here, that would raise your price $60. Well, if your equipment has gone up 30%, and your average equipment, we'll just say, is 50 of the 100 spent on expenses, then you are actually having an increase in cost, or COGS, really, cost of goods and services. Your COGS are going up $15. And if you increase your price by $60 to cover a $15 COGS increase, you are now not staying with the actual market fluctuation of what is happening. So what I would say is, if you've got a $50 average expenses for supplies, and your average home fits into this little framework, then you would have a $15 increase. In order to cover the $15 increase, you have two options. Well, you actually have several options, but I'm going to go over two options. Option one is you can raise your prices by 1 cent per square foot. That's going to give you a 10% increase on your pricing. And in this model, that would raise your price $20. That $20 would more than cover the 30% increase in expenses for equipment and supplies. You could also eat the entire $15. You could take that $50 in profit and cut that down to $35. And what that's going to do is that is going to reduce what they call, your war chest, what you have to spend, what you have to fall back on. So I would also not recommend just completely eating that cost unless you're finding that your market is slowing down from overall price fear and panic. I have actually toyed with the idea of just eating the additional cost temporarily to see if tariffs are going to go down, and the increase at the store for me, if it does not change too much. But your other option is to split the difference. And something that we've heard a lot on the news for anybody who's been following these tariffs are, will these companies absorb the additional tariff cost, or will they be passing it along to the consumer? And that's exactly what we're talking about right now. As small business owners, we need to be figuring out, are we going to be passing this along to the consumer, or are we going to try to absorb it? So to absorb this extra tariff, we will have to decrease our profit on this model from $50 to $35. And that, while that is great, it's not why we started the business. We want to make whatever the full profit is that we have designed into our prices, that we want to make off of every job. And if we're not able to do that, then our return on our investment is not going to pay us back what we were hoping. The other option is to pass it along to the consumer. And to pass it along to the consumer would be to raise your price by 10% on this model. That would cover the $20. It would make a $20 increase in the cost of this pressure washing, and that would cover fully the $15 increase in costs of goods and services. Another option is to split the difference. You could raise your price to 10.5 cents per square foot, and that would give you an additional $10 on this model. So for this model, you would then just have to make up a $5 difference. So you could take that extra $5 out of your profitability down to 45 rather than dropping it all the way down to 35. And you could, it's your business. You raise, lower, whatever you feel like doing. But just that 1/2 cent of increase on this model would raise the profitability by $10. Almost covering everything we need. Just that 1/2 cent and a $10 increase may not be felt as bad on the customer as if you were doing a full $20. We still have to stay competitive. We still have to make sure that we are pricing to where we can be profitable, and that's going to hopefully not be super hard. But of course, there's panic, there's fear, and I think that a lot of people are going to be holding back, especially right now, which is not a great time to hold back because it is our busy season. But if people start holding back, we will have to stay either competitive in pricing or just lower volume and tighten our belts a little bit. Make sure that we are controlling our expenses the best we can. And at the end of the day, if you don't have a budget that is going to work for your business to make you profit and make sure you get paid and make sure all the bills are paid and everything is happy, you're doing yourself a disservice. So make sure that you are paying attention to not only how much money you are making in revenue and profit, but knowing how you got there, how you're going to get there next month. Make your budget, and if you need to restructure your pricing knowing what numbers you're changing. Now, of course, I don't charge 10 cents per square foot. I have raised my prices. This was my original 2020 model, but it is definitely something that I am looking at right now of raising my prices again. How much I will raise my prices will directly be determined by how much the cost of goods and services go up for us and what the demand looks like during this spring. And if this spring starts to cool down on us, we may have to lower our prices in order to stay competitive with everyone else, and we might just have to take that hit on profitability. Well, I hope this helped answer some of y'all's questions about the tariff, about, what is Jeremiah going to be doing, because this is something that I'm watching very closely, and I'm a numbers guy, so I always watch my budget. I always watch what I'm spending, what my averages are, and I'm making sure that we are planning for the future, planning forward so that we can continue to grow. We're going to grow through this. We're going to make it through this, and we're going to be better for it, hopefully. And whether you guys think that they are terrific or terrifying, let's keep the politics out of the comments today. This is not a political channel. It is a business. It is a small business channel, and this is, unfortunately, it is a reality that we are going through, and we are going to have to adjust. And it's like anything else that happens in the world. The economy affects our business, and just as much as pollen does. So this is something that we are going to be planning for. This is something that I advise everybody else to plan for and make adjustments. Know what your numbers are. Always know what your numbers are, whether there's something happening or not. Track what you are spending. Track what you've got coming in. Track your averages, and know what things cost you. You don't want to look up at the end of the day and realize that you planned for a specific number and you are not going to come anywhere near that number at the end of the month, and you're not able to pay your bills. So make sure that you are on top of your budget game. Make sure you know how to price your own business, not my business, not the 2,000 square foot at 10 cents per square foot. Know what your business needs, know what your costs are, and know what your market can sustain. So hopefully this is short-lived, and either way, I hope you guys found some usefulness out of it, just my opinion, and I hope that you guys have a great start to your spring. Let's go wash stuff. You guys be safe out there.